What up, cucks? It's the hater here by popular demand, motherfucks. A lot of people have been asking me to talk about Tessa Blanchard, motherfucks. Now, I mentioned a little bit about Tessa Blanchard in one of my past videos, but I didn't really go into depth about it, and I understand why some people might have missed it or may want me to talk more about it, motherfuckers. So we're going to talk about that now, but as usual, cuckolds, we're going to first talk about the most important thing of the day, motherfuckers, which is, of course, the new subscribers. Subscribe today if you haven't, motherfuckers. Another thing, my subscriber count keeps going down by one ever so often, and then he keeps going up by one ever so often. So one of you keeps subscribing and unsubscribing, or I'm alienating a lot of you guys at quite a noticeable rate, but not noticeable enough to hinder my growth and perseverance, motherfucks. So if you are someone that keeps subscribing and unsubscribing, I suggest just unsubscribe and never speak to me again. But if you're someone that's here because you're cool and a cool cat and a nice person, and you happen upon this video and you're not a subscriber yet, then I suggest one thing for you, cuck, and that's click subscribe so you can enjoy some wonderful content and, dare I say so myself, a great community in the comment sections, you know? We hate on things around here, motherfuckers. So without further ado, now we can talk about the subscribers. Dr. Cam Boss says, wow. Oh, sorry, my bad. He says, WCW rules. I subscribe. Dr. Cam Boss, welcome, motherfucker. We always need more subscribers, so subscribe today. All right, new subscriber, Chain Gang 1984 Junior. Not to be confused with Chain Gang 1984 Senior, motherfucks. Welcome, Chain Gang. You know, welcome to the thing. Oh, there's another guy right here who says, Mustadio, or Mustadio maybe. He says, I'm a new subscriber. Would like shout out. Mustadio, here's your shout out. Also, shout out to your avatar, which I believe is Ramza Belouv, motherfucks, from Final Fantasy Tactics. One of the Final Fantasy games that I never could get behind because maybe it was too difficult or too old, but I own that game in like 5 different formats. I have it for PSP, I got it for PS1, motherfuckers. I have it for my phone, I think, as well. On the phone, it's like nearly impossible to play because it's all touchscreen. But maybe I'll play that, you know? I'm trying to find a fun little RPG to play, motherfucks. So there you have it, Mustadio. Welcome on board, motherfuckers! All right, now let's get to it, all right? First of all, a couple of things about Tessa Blanchard. And this might be something else, too. Like, people have been wanting me to talk about it, but it's possible that they want me to talk about it because a lot of things have happened, right? I only spoke about the fact that she is now, like, I believe, the first woman to not only challenge for a main title, it turns out. I thought China challenged for the WWE title, but I guess I'm wrong. I know she was like in a number one contenders match. Thought she, oh yeah. She was in a number one contenders match, but then Stone Cold. Wait, no, she won that match. Maybe she never challenged, but I was her versus like Triple H, I think. And Stone Cold came and attacked Triple H and made China win. And he was like, I'd rather fight China. She's an easier match, you know? So Tessa Blanchard is the first person to challenge for and win the a company's, I guess, number one title, you know, like the heavyweight title, if you will, the world championship. Call it what you want. You know what I'm saying, motherfuckers? So that's a pretty big achievement. I mean, no one can deny that, right? Like, let's call it what it is, right? The fact that this broad now is the whatever TNA Impact champion, whatever the fuck it's called, right? The fact that she's a champ, I mean, it's pretty cool, like in a sense, right? It's like, oh my God, like a woman did it. Now, of course, overall, it's not a good thing. You understand me? I'll get through that in a second. But it is cool for her, is what I should say, right? Like, so for her, it's like she's pretty much wrote her ticket to being a star. You know what I mean? Like WWE is gonna eventually sign her. There's no doubt about it, right? And then like she's gonna be in their women's division, and she's like completely, you know, legitimized. Because she's won, like, the main title in TNA. Now, they're never going to acknowledge this, right? But they might say something generic like, oh, this is the first woman to be a world champion. You know what I mean? And that would make a nice little feud, considering, like, so, for example, if you had, like, I don't know, Ronda Rousey up in this, right? Versus Tessa Blanchard, the argument could go both ways, right? It's like Ronda Rousey is obviously, like, a real fighter, so she would obviously beat the shit out of Tessa Blanchard. But kayfabe-wise, the argument then becomes, wait a second, Tessa Blanchard beat Brian Cage, motherfuckers. That guy's like a Brock Lesnar level dude, you know? So she beat that guy, which is ridiculous, by the way, but she did. So that's good. Now, on top of that, we have a bunch of other news that we're going to get to involving young Tessa Blanchard. But first, let's start where it all began. Her face, motherfuckers. Her face. Is anyone going to talk about this? Is anyone going to talk about her pan face? Yeah? Now, I'm not here to say that, like, I get it. You know, not every girl's going to be a 10, right? I mean, she's not a bad-looking broad. Don't get me wrong. As a matter of fact, at this indie show that I went to with my friend, who I've mentioned a couple of times, he thought she was cute. You know, we were sitting pretty close. We were like second row or something, right? So she was like right in front of us, and he was like, "Oh, she's cute." Now, I don't know if he said that because, like, you know, she's like cute for a wrestler. I'm not sure. We didn't really get to talking about it, you know. But like that same event, Mickie James was one of the guests, right? This is before she signed back to WWE, and she was signing things like backstage. She was signing things for the people like in front of the auditorium or whatever, right? And like she wrestled that night and she wore like her ring gear, but when she was signing things, she had on like full makeup and wore like this awesome dress, right? And my friend was like, "Oh my God, Mickie James is so hot," and I was like, "Yeah, she's like," I was surprised at how attractive Mickie James was because, you know, on TV, like she's obviously like an attractive girl, but it's like on TV, you know, you're like, all right, she's attractive, but like there's way more, like Stacy Keibler is way more attractive, right? Now this begs the question, like, how attractive is fucking Stacy Keibler if Mickie James looks like a bona fide 10, you know what I'm saying? Like, she looked great, you know? So compared to Mickie James, Tessa Blanchard wasn't that good looking, and I saw them both live, you know? But she's definitely like an attractive girl. I'm not gonna sit here and say Tessa Blanchard is ugly, but her face, man, her face, there's something about, like, there's like a death in her face, right? She's got this like weird stare. Her jaw is weird. Like when I say pan face in this context, I don't mean like round. I mean more like as if someone grabbed the pan by the handle and smacked her with the butt of the pan and like flattened her face out because she's got a flat face, man. It's fucking weird, you know. Like she looks like she's wearing a mask, you know, like a wooden mask, like those like West African wooden masks, you know what I'm saying? Or like she looks like she's wearing the mask from Crash Bandicoot, you know. So her nose, there's something weird about her face. And this is not made any better by the fact that she has these weird-ass facial expressions. Now, I have not seen many of her matches, but I've noticed her exaggerated facial expressions, which are already bad enough, but they're even more ridiculous. Like, she does like a move, tries to pin Brian Cage, he kicks out at 2.5, and she has this look of disbelief, like, oh my God, this move didn't beat Brian Cage. It's the most ridiculous thing ever because no move that she can do would ever beat Brian Cage in real life. It's just ridiculous, you know? So, like, with that being said, you know, her face, we got to talk about it, motherfuckers. You know, we talk about everything in the Hater channel. We talk about someone's body. We talk about someone's face. You know, she's got a nice body, I guess. I don't know why they chose her to be, like, this champion literally the champion, but this champion of like the women's revolution for TNA, right? Now, the whole entire women's revolution, in my opinion, is completely fabricated, except for the one that they had in, Lucha Underground. Now, the problem with the Lucha Underground one was that I think Sexy Star, she won like the Lucha Underground, like Campeonato del Mundo, whatever the fuck it was called, right? But it doesn't count, of course, and because it's fucking Lucha Underground, but she legit won the title, and she was abroad, and I think she did a lot for women's wrestling, more so than like WWE ever did, right? And I think that's kind of what got WWE like on the ball, right? Because like Sexy Star was fighting dudes, and she won the championship, right? And it was clear, like she won the championship, but it was like a weird win, you know? It wasn't this like main event, like one-on-one, like she won fair and square type situation, you know? But she was beating dudes in there like left and right. And WWE, I think, saw the writing on the wall, see the writings on the wall, and they kind of were like, all right, man, we got to utilize our women because there's clearly a market for this. People are losing their minds. Like, people were marking out. And they were marking out because it was number one, organic. It just happened. People were like, oh, here's like Ivelisse. Like, she's badass, you know? She can like do hurricanranas on dudes. She looks great. She's got like a gimmick, kind of, you know? She was awesome. And the Sexy Star, same thing, you know? Like, there was a story behind her and everything. Lucha Underground was actually fresh and new. Not like AEW pretends to be. Like, Lucha Underground was legit because they had like a different presentation completely. They had like actual involvement of women in more than just ridiculous roles. And perhaps most importantly of all, right? I mean, aside from the presentation was pretty important too, because it felt like a TV show. But more importantly, they had an identity, right? Like I always say, AEW has no identity. Lucha Underground had an identity, and the identity was like Lucha Libre, you know, not like just flips, you know. And if you're into that, that's cool. Now, I know I segued a little bit off topic here, talking about Lucha Underground, but it's part of the greater narrative because the culmination of what Sexy Star started in Lucha Underground is Tessa Blanchard winning the title from Sami Callihan. Now, this might not be the culmination. You know, who the hell knows, right? Maybe next WrestleMania, Becky Lynch beats Brock Lesnar via submission to become the first WWE champion who's a woman. Who the fuck knows where the end is, right? But I think it's safe to say that for a while, this will be like the zenith that women have reached, right? I don't really see that happening, right? WWE is not going to do that. But so good for her. You know, it's a huge career highlight. It's awesome for her because she can like now transfer to WWE like immediately and demand pretty big money from TNA if they want her to be there, because not only is she like, you know, their champion. This is a bad move by TNA because their champion is now a woman, right? So when the inevitability happens that she leaves, right, she's going to go to WWE and start jobbing to like Bianca Belair, which means through the transitive property cucks that people like Bianca Belair and like fucking Io Shirai and Candice LeRae and whoever is going to end up beating her once in a while, those people could then, by the transitive property, become TNA champion. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense, you know? But for her, it's good. Now, with that being said, I didn't see the match. I did read about it, and it seemed that she just like won the match with like a move. You know, she did like a few destroyers, I think it was, a few Canadian destroyers. And then what did she do? She must have pinned. I don't think she like made him tap out, but she must have pinned Sami Callihan, right? So she won the match like legit. And this guy was like I like Sami Callihan now. You know, like he was obviously garbage in NXT, but now he's got like an identity, his. You know, they say that like like a good gimmick is your personality cranked up to 10. Like that's perfect for him because it appears. It's very convincing. It appears his personality is this like rough, like disgusting, like piece of shit, hateable person, right? You know, obviously he's like playing it up, but like he has elements of that grittiness, right? You know, and that's inherently interesting. So when it's cranked up to 10, it becomes even more interesting. As far as I can tell, Tessa Blanchard has no character. Her character is just, she's a girl who's champion, you know? But anyways, it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? Let's get to the real meat and potatoes of this video, right? First of all, let's be honest, right? Like I just said, it's bad for TNA as a company to do this, and I think it's overall bad, right? It's like not, I don't want to say for the business like a mark, but it's bad for like all wrestling companies really, because the implications are that, you know, the fans are so stupid, right? Like, because you would have to be stupid. You would have to be stupid to like accept the possibility that Tessa Blanchard can beat a full-grown man, right? It's just ridiculous. You know, it's beyond the pale, right? It's just foolish, right? I remember back in the day when I was a kid, there was a match. This match actually made me want to buy the pay-per-view. I mean, you know, I should say maybe beg my mom to buy me the pay-per-view, right? But basically, it was Chavo Guerrero versus Jacqueline in WWE for the Cruiserweight title, right? Chavo was the Cruiserweight champ, and it was him versus Jacqueline. And the match was like Chavo had to like tie one arm behind his back. My memory may be a little hazy. I don't know if like he was defending the title or whatever, right? But he was gonna like wrestle Jacqueline for the Cruiserweight title, and he had to tie one arm behind his back. Now Jacqueline is much closer to Chavo in size, right? Like Chavo was never a big guy, and Jacqueline was a muscular woman. So like with one arm tied behind his back, it is now in the realm of possibility that Jacqueline could beat him, right? And this was important, you know, like I wanted to see it because I'm like, oh my God, like a woman might win the Cruiserweight title. Like that's such a huge deal. You know, it feels so big, right? But just think about that, right? They had to have Chavo tie one arm behind his back because any other scenario other than like roll up win, right? Any other scenario would suggest to people that they are idiots for buying into the idea that Jacqueline could beat Chavo. It's stupid, right? And this is just the same thing hashed out again, except now they've raised the stakes up 1 million, right? It's the main event. It's an intergender match, which like they don't even have in WWE anymore. They have like the mixed tag matches, but not intergender, right? And all that other bullshit. So it's not good. It makes the fans look stupid. Like if I'm sure that when she won the match, the neckbeards were like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" And I pray that this didn't happen, but I'm almost certain it did. There was probably some "you deserve it" chants, which is ridiculous. I almost guarantee that happened. But anyways, motherfuckers. So after the mistake that TNA made in putting the strap on Tessa Blanchard and the implications of this being that like imagine, you know, like we all have friends that don't watch wrestling, right? Imagine if like one of your friends is like, "Hey man, what's going on in wrestling right now? You know, what happened to that company where Kurt Angle was champion?" And then you'd be like, oh, WWE? They're like, no, the other one. You're like, oh, TNA. Well, guess what, motherfucker? The champion is now Tessa Blanchard. And they'd be like, oh my God, is she like a 6'9" Amazon type woman? He'd be like, nah. And you show her a picture, they'd be like, what, this is the champion? Like, do you mean the women's champion? You'd be like, no, she's the champion. She beat Brian Cage. And then you show them that picture of Brian Cage. And then the only reaction your friend would have is like, they would just laugh at you. They'd be like, this is so dumb. How can you believe this, you know? So that's I think the main problem. Now, getting to the actual point here, right? Since then, a lot of these people, a lot of female wrestlers have stepped up and said, like, have made accusations about how Tessa Blanchard is a racist, motherfuckers, and I think other things too. But like, she's like supposed to be a huge bitch, like a racist, just a horrible person overall, right? And Tessa Blanchard obviously is going to. Oh, let's just like talk about the accusation. So basically, she was accused of spitting in the face of some indie jobber wrestler called La Rosa Negra, which I believe means the Black Rose. But I'm not sure if Rosa is rose in Spanish. It's a safe bet, motherfuckers. Deal with it. So anyways, and she called her the N-word apparently, right? And of course, Tessa's going to deny this, but there's a lot of independent women wrestlers who are like backing up this accusation, right? She wasn't accused by La Rosa Negra herself. She was accused by some other broad. I forget. It was someone whose name like we would all know, you know, like maybe like a Allison K, because that's the two articles that I've pulled up here, but I don't know. And basically, Tessa put up this tweet that was like, oh, you know, women should help each other out, you know, like empower each other. And then this other broad was like, yo, like, that's funny that you're saying that because like you called La Rosa Negra the N-word and spat in her face. Now, typically, the hater doesn't deal with this kind of bullshit. He said, she said. You know, I don't care about rat's ass, personally. But this is interesting. It's interesting only because of the timing of it, right? Which Moose from TNA, who apparently is friends with Tessa in real life, he came to her defense and he was like, yo, it's convenient that a lot of these people are coming out with this, like, you know, news and this kind of hate when she reached, like, essentially a career milestone that literally none of them will ever reach because she's the first one to do it. And I don't think this is going to be a common thing, motherfucks. So, you know, like, and that is interesting, right? It's like all these people are trying to like bury her because she's achieving this like incredible level of success on a personal level. So automatically when things like that happen, like why didn't they say this like 3 months before when no one gave a rat's ass about Tessa, right? But of course, if Tessa did in fact do this, and even if the timing is such because they wanted to ruin her hype, if she actually did it, it's all cool, you know what I mean? Like if she did it, then they're totally right to call her out on it. Now, are they totally right to call her out on it on Twitter to humiliate her in public? Probably not. You know, this is like it seems to be, if she spat in someone's face and called her the N-word, it seems to be a personal issue that should be handled on a personal level, right? There's no reason to bring people's jobs into this, right? Because this is the kind of accusation that could get you fired. I mean, I think she's safe because she's a champ, but typically, these are things that can get you fired. And I never understood that. Like one of my heroes in life, Patrice O'Neal, said once. He said, why can't I hate you? If I hate you, let me hate you. Now, of course, you shouldn't be spitting people's faces and you shouldn't be calling people derogatory words. But if you hate someone, right, it's a personal thing, right? Let me hate you if I want. And then everything that I do is between me and you, right? If I spit in your face, I would be totally cool with La Rosa Negra, like beating her with a chair, not kayfabe-wise, but beating her with a chair seriously after being spat on and called such a hurtful, derogatory word, you know? But despite that, we don't know if it's true, right? So Tessa Blanchard let out this statement on Twitter that I'm about to read for you. I can't believe this is happening, motherfucks. I'm not one to go on Twitter and like waste my time with these nerd things, but hey, I gotta do it, right? I gotta do it for the people who asked about it, right? So Tessa says, I hope everyone will take a moment to read this. Automatically, I hate this, you know, for two reasons. Number one, it ends with a period. It should end with a colon, but that's besides the point, motherfuckers. I hate it because it's so, like, it just reeks of like pretentiousness, of self-importance, you know? Like, oh, I hope people will read what I have to say. Just fucking put the thing, right? But anyways, the actual substance of it says this. Quote, I don't know why it's in quotes. She quoted herself. What a douchebag she is. And they're probably right, honestly. Right? She says, over the last week, I have been accused of calling a fellow wrestler a racial slur. To read this allegation has been personally upsetting. To be clear, I absolutely did not use that word. That word is not in my vocabulary. That word is not in my heart. Racism is not in my heart. Yet I know many people have to deal with racism in a way that I will never have to. Racism is an awful part of American history, and it is equally awful that it's still part of our society today. While I did not do what was claimed, I stand ready to use my platform to support the fight against racism however I can. Now, all right, the first half of this is a complete waste of time, honestly, right? Like, I think a much more effective tweet would have just been like, I did not do this, you know, like a Bill Clinton approach. You know what I'm saying? I did not have sexual relations with that woman. You can say what you want about Bill Clinton, but that guy is one of the great pussy men of our time, except for the fact that he's been accused of rape like 4 or 5 times, and also accused of, you know, he was on that flight manifest of Epstein. So never mind. He's a horrible person as far as I can tell. But anyways, yeah, but one thing he did that was good was the good old straight up just denial. I did not do it, man. That's what she should have said. Not this kind of wordy bullshit, which makes me want to question it. You know what I mean? It makes me like, what the hell? And also the second paragraph, which is like, I know people have to deal with racism in a way that I will never have to. Great. So what? Why are you like putting yourself under the bus? Whatever, man. You're a quote unquote pretty white girl, right? So like you're not gonna have to deal with it. But this doesn't mean you should like take this this cuck, you know, this cuckish defensiveness, right? Where you're like, oh well, I'll never deal with it, but I'm committed to fighting it. It screams like something a liberal would say. And if you're a liberal, you're cool. Don't get me wrong. You know, not all of you are built the same, but it just screams of like she might as well say, I'm not a racist, but if you find one, I'll point them out first. You know, it's kind of like you're the one being accused, sweetheart. You know, you're the one being accused of this bullshit, and all you need to do was say, yo, I didn't do it. Leave me alone. You know, like even like a catty I didn't do it. Anyone that says I'm doing it is a hater, you know, and they're just like lying because they're jealous of my success. Even that would have been better than this. Oh, I'm going to use my platform to support the fight against racism. What the hell are you talking about? You know, what fight? You're the one being accused, you know? How about you support it by jumping off a ladder, you know what I'm saying, and not getting the belt this time? But that's what I'm saying, man. Like, it's just kind of like, look, if you say something racist, you shouldn't do it. It's fucked up, you know? Like, hating someone for any reason, honestly, except for if you're the hater, you know what I'm saying? Hating someone is not cool. Whether it's for an immutable characteristic, which of course means something you can't control or change, right? Or even if it is for something that you can't control and change. Like, if someone decides to be fat, like, actively, they're like, I'm going to be fat, you know, you should make fun of them for being fat. The same way you should make fun of someone for being white or black or Asian or Chinese or whatever the case may be, you know? But if you do, right, apologize, I guess the best thing you can do, apologize. But this just seems very dirty, you know, you spat on someone's face, allegedly, right? So in this context, I don't know. I think the best course of action would have been a Bill Clinton type action, right? Now, the rest of the article just talks about some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It just talks about like, you know, what she did basically. And then we have the next article. It says Sienna, who the fuck is Sienna? Calls Tessa Blanchard a liar and undeniable scumbag after apology. Now, I don't know. Oh, apparently Booker T also said this was the worst idea in pro wrestling history for a reason. Good, motherfuckers. I don't know if he meant because of like the accusations of racism, or if he meant like because she's a woman who's going to ruin the prestige of the title. I'm not sure what Booker T's thinking, motherfuckers. So, apparently it was Sienna that accused her, it turns out. And then La Rosa Negra confirmed that this happened in Japan in 2017, whereas Tessa Blanchard denied it. Now, the fact that someone else claims it happened, right? And then the person that it allegedly happened to admits it, right? That's pretty good evidence. I mean, I'm not going to say it's like dispositive, obviously, right? It could still be made up, but it seems to be that it probably, maybe not that, but maybe something along those lines happened. Maybe she just spat in her face, or maybe she just said the N-word. Who the fuck knows, right? But Sienna basically saying, like, you know, it's bullshit, right? Sienna is Allison Kay. What the fuck is, I don't even, what? Oh, so the two articles that I was going to talk about are actually one article, motherfuckers. So it says here, Allison Kay at Sienna. Make up your name, bitch. But anyways, she says, you can try to babyface the fans, but the majority of our peers know Rosa's story is true, and that's what matters. Pause. First of all, that's not what matters. Here's why that's not what matters. I couldn't give a rat's ass if Eddie Edwards or like fucking TJP or if, I don't know, Isaiah Swerve Scott down in NXT or maybe Ilya Dragunov in NXT UK. I don't give a rat's ass if these people know. And that's not what matters. What matters here is whether it happened or not, right? It doesn't matter if people know about it. It doesn't matter, and more importantly, if anything else matters other than the truth, it's whether the fans believe it or not, because the fans are the ones that can demand change, right? Nobody gives a rat's ass about what Allison Kay has to say, right? It only matters if the fans know. And furthermore, Allison Kay, right? The mistake she made was this. She says, you can try to babyface the fans, right? But the majority of our peers know Rosa's story is true. And highlight, that's what matters. Is it? Is it really? Because if that's what, if what mattered was that the peers know, then why the hell are you putting it out on Twitter? That's before even reading this article. That's what I said in this same video, motherfuckers. I said if it's a personal matter, handle it personally, right? If you must involve people, involve the people that were witnesses, and involve the people that have a vested interest. For example, if you're like, I don't know, a black wrestler that wrestled on the same card. Well, wait a second, man. I don't want to come here and be called the N-word, right? I don't want this kind of like, attitude. I don't want this kind of like environment for me, right? Or if you're a white person, like a white wrestler, you're like, hey man, like don't group me in with Tessa Blanchard, please. I'm not like that, right? Or if you're an Asian wrestler, you're like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with these people? You know, whatever the case may be. It was in Japan after all. So they're like, yo, these people are weird. But anyways, if the fans didn't matter, then Allison Kay had no business putting this out on Twitter, right? She put it out on Twitter because she wanted attention, right? No matter what, even if Tessa Blanchard did it, Allison Kay did it for attention, and she can kiss my ass and suck my pickle for that. Now, the next thing she says is, I really hope that one day the other two witnesses of this incident come forward and further expose you as not only a racist, but a liar and an undeniable scumbag. Now, hold on a second. Let's get to it for a second. All right. Is calling someone the N-word racist? Yes, it is. Is spitting in someone's face a scumbag move? Yes. And of course, lying about this would make you a liar. Yes, those are all true, right? If this were true. But let's take a seat back, right? To call someone a racist and an undeniable scumbag, right, is kind of like a very narrowly tailored scope on what's going on, right? Because sometimes people that are racist do things that are not racist, obviously, right? And sometimes people that are not racist do things that are racist. Right? Just because you did something racist once doesn't mean you're a racist, right? People, especially with things like that, people can learn, people can change, right? Now, of course, I'm not suggesting here that in these 3 years, Tessa learned to not to be a racist and learn not to spit on people's face. Of course not. I'm not even suggesting that at all. But what I'm saying is, these labels stick with you forever. To say that you are not only a racist, but an undeniable scumbag. Well, wait a second, man. Sometimes, like, for example, the hater, your boy right here, has gotten into a few bar fights in his time. You know what I'm saying? When I was in my early 20s in college, right, and beyond, right, I would have a few too many. This is before I quit drinking. If you drink, I suggest considering quitting. It'll change your life. But when I drank a lot, I would get into fights, right? And, you know, I'm not proud of those things, right? Now, to say that I'm this, like, you know, bully or like someone that beats people up or anything like that would be unfair. Yeah, I did that. You know, I've done that kind of stuff, but doesn't mean that that's all I am, right? And to say like something like undeniable scumbag or racist just kind of takes away from the rest of what Tessa Blanchard could be, right? Maybe she's a great girlfriend. Who the fuck knows, you know? But like to just say that you're a racist and undeniable scumbag, I mean, I understand what Sienna's trying to do, but it's kind of like it rubs me the wrong way because it's like, dude, like a lot of people do things like that are bad, right? Like I've done things that are violent, but I wouldn't consider myself right now to be a violent person. You know, maybe a little angry, you know what I'm saying, motherfuckers, but not a violent person, right? You know, like there's people that I know that have cheated on their girlfriends. Like I've never done something like that, but people have cheated on their girlfriends, right? It doesn't mean that they're just cheaters forever, right? I mean, maybe it does. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's not just that people can change, but it's like if you just call someone 2 or 3 words, right? They're much more than that, you know? And there's something like there has to be room for forgiveness and not just change, but making of mistakes, right? Like sometimes I've made mistakes, you know, like sometimes like I'll back my car up and I'll hit another car by accident, right? Shit, I made a mistake, motherfuckers. Doesn't mean I'm a reckless driver. Doesn't mean that I am prone to do these things. It just means I made a mistake. And sometimes people do things, even if it's hateful. People sometimes hate others and then they realize, man, that was fucked up. Not like, oh, it was wrong that I did it. Maybe they think it was right all along, but they're like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, right? And to label someone a racist, the implications that come to mind kind of are like that Tessa Blanchard is out there in the back just saying racial slurs to everybody, you know, like, and like and more importantly, like if you say something to someone to hurt them, right? Like if you call someone a racist word to hurt them, right? You're an asshole, obviously, right? And it's a racist thing to do, right? But it's different than, let's say, you know, if Tessa Blanchard ran a company and was like, yo, man, I'm not hiring any blacks or Asians, right? That'd be more fucked up. That's like, whoa, wait a second, man. Like just because they're black and Asian doesn't mean that they can't do the job or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we say things out of hate, right? That we don't mean, and we do it just to hurt someone, right? And that doesn't make us an ist of any sort, right? So like, if for example, I get into like, let's say I had a sister. I don't have any sisters, but let's say I had a sister, right? I presumably would love her very much. And in a certain context, if she pisses me off, I might be like, you're a fucking stupid bitch or a dumb slut or something like that, right? Now, this doesn't mean that I'm a sexist, right? This doesn't mean, or like, if she does something stupid, I'm like, oh, you're a dumb bitch, like, oh, well, like, typical of you to do it like a dumb woman, right? This doesn't mean that I hate women or I think women are dumb. It's just something that I said out of anger of that moment. You understand? And the fact that society has forgotten about this distinction that is so clear, right? That we all know this. We all have these moments. You know what I'm saying? We all have these moments where we say something to someone that we don't think about them. We don't believe this to be true. The most common one is this. Let's say you hang out with a friend and you know your friend's a smart guy, right? But he says something incredibly stupid, right? Or maybe he says something incredibly smart and you just want to make him feel like he's stupid. Let's say, whatever the case may be, right? And you're like, man, you're a fucking idiot, right? Now, you say that, but you don't mean it. You know what I mean? Like you don't mean that the person is an idiot, right? The person you might know very well that he's very smart. The person you're calling an idiot might also know that they're very smart, right? But sometimes words have deeper meanings, but sometimes they're just words. They're just said out of anger. So let's take the context of this, for example, right? Let's say La Rosa Negra did something horrible to Tessa, right? I'm not trying to like justify it or anything, but I'm just saying, let's say she did something horrible, right? And Tessa Blanchard, like, I don't know, nearly broke her neck as a result, right? Like a botched suplex, let's say, right? And she's like, oh, I can't believe you did that to me, Rosa. And Rosa's like, I don't give a fuck. And she's like, oh yeah? And then because her anger is so high, she's like, all right, how can I hurt this person the most? I'll call them the N-word and spit in their face, right? Doesn't mean that this was formulated and that is sourced, right, from like a place of racism. It could just be sourced from a place of like, I really want to upset you right now, so I'm gonna say some fucked up shit, right? Like, to pretend that this doesn't happen, right? When people say fucked up shit to people is ridiculous, right? It's like, if you pretend that this is the truth, then you've never had a bad breakup, motherfuckers. Because when you have a bad breakup, then people say horrible things that they don't mean, all the time. And that's the key here, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say whether Tessa Blanchard meant it or didn't mean it. I couldn't give a rat's ass. To be completely frank, man, as long as Tessa Blanchard does her 3 moves or whatever, I don't even care about her if she does the moves. But if I cared about her, I only care about her in the context of her ability to wrestle. I don't give a rat's ass if she hates people. I don't give a rat's ass if she spits on people. Now, if that's a crime, which it would be battery technically, right? Arrest her and put her in prison in Japan if that's a crime in Japan, right? Do what you need to do. I'm totally cool with that. But like, as things stand, I don't give a rat's ass if Tessa Blanchard, like, I don't care who she's dating. I don't care where she lives. I don't care what company she wrestles for. Well, I guess I care about that one a little bit, right? I don't want to wrestle for a good company. So you know what I'm saying? Like we need to understand that that people on TV play characters, and I only need to bond with, if I want to bond at all, which is already weird, with the character they play. I am not concerned with what the person does behind the scenes, right? Now, if you want to tell me what to do behind the scenes, I might listen, like, oh, John Cena fulfilled another wish. Cool, good for him, you know what I mean? But I don't care about that John Cena. I only care about John Cena, the character in wrestling, right? And if you care about anything more than that, like if, people are like, oh, Brad Pitt broke up with Angelina Jolie. Don't care, motherfuckers. Couldn't give a rat's ass about their family. Don't give a shit about Kanye West and Kim Kardashian and their kids. Couldn't care less at all, I only care about them in the context of their art. And this should be no different, And the facts are what they are. People like Sienna are trying to besmirch the name of Tessa Blanchard. And people like Tessa Blanchard are taking these cop-out things. I think she did it, so she can go fuck herself too, motherfuckers. So that's what I think. I condemn people around these parts, man, because it's hot out here, motherfuckers. It's hot out here. And this video has gone on way longer than I thought it would. But before I go, I want to say one thing. It's very important. I know that I'm the hater, and this is not the lover making a return, you motherfuckers. But it's important to know that if you're someone that purposefully hurts people with horrible words like that, or spits in people's face, you are undeniably a piece of shit, right? Now, should you be condemned for this for the rest of your life? Absolutely not. But in that moment, you are, like Sienna said, an undeniable scumbag and a racist. Now, to bring this up, Manny, like, what the hell did they do? I'm curious to know what happened after she did this. What did La Rosa Negra do? Furthermore, more importantly, what did Allison Kay do? She just stood there? Yeah? Oh, I'm going to call you out on Twitter 3 years later. Get the fuck out of here, man. This is an important distinction. You need to stand up for what's right. You know? You can't just sit down like a pussy and then be like 3 years later, oh, someone said something 3 years ago that was offensive to another person. Get the fuck out of here. And they spend their face, too. Fuck that. You know, stand up for what you believe in, motherfucks. That's how you get feelings of happiness, if you will. And there you go, you know. But beyond that, I just want to give you guys one final shout out. I love my fans, motherfuckers. And if you are someone that listened to this and enjoyed it, I suppose, click like and subscribe today. Click anyone that's listening to this that is subscribed. Please take a moment to click like before I finish this video. I will give you 6 seconds to click like starting now. Well, that's 6 seconds. I hope that you clicked like and I hope that you subscribe today, motherfuckers. I will see you motherfuckers soon. Oh, SmackDown's on right now. I don't think I'm going to be able to watch it because I didn't DVR it. But it is what it is, motherfuckers. See you later, bitches.